everyone, and welcome to the 13th episode in our AI and You podcast series. Today is Friday, October 2nd, 2020, and I'm your host, Vicar Saidi. I'm a computer scientist and engineer, a lecturer, and a consultant. I'm also the author of several books. My most recent book is about artificial intelligence and is titled The Genome Affair. The Genome Affair is a work of speculative fiction. It examines what the world might be like if some of the more extraordinary capabilities forecast to be realized in AI over the next 20 to 30 years were actually realized today. Given the growing list of frightening existential threats humankind now faces, the book pays particular attention to the impact AI is expected to have on world affairs. The book is available in ebook format for those who prefer to read on a digital device, but it's also available in a high-quality paperback edition. The Genome Affair is available on Amazon, so I hope you'll take the time to read it and to leave a review. Book reviews are very helpful for writers. I'm available to give talks on artificial intelligence and its related technologies, and on the impact AI is expected to have on our world. If you'd like to get in touch with me to arrange a web-based event or consulting meeting with your company or organization, you can find my contact info in the podcast notes below. And now, on to today's podcast. In our last podcast, episode 12, I talked about artificial intelligence and its increasing presence in the emerging category of lethal autonomous weapon systems. In today's podcast, episode 13, I'll be talking about artificial intelligence and the future of work in Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. Let's get started. As we explore and study the advances in artificial intelligence, automation, and robotics in today's economy and industry, we can't help but wonder what work, if any, will remain for humans to do in the future. Bank tellers, cashiers, clerks, numerous manufacturing jobs, limousine and taxi drivers, and even truck drivers will rapidly be displaced by AI-enabled automation and robotics over the next 5 to 10 years. Additionally, jobs in finance, law, and technology are evolving very quickly and will require near constant skills development as AI encroaches on white-collar jobs in a virtually unstoppable tsunami. This is the character of this silent but relentless fourth industrial revolution led by AI. Today, cargo containers arriving at Rotterdam and Hamburg seaports, the first and third busiest ports in Europe, respectively, are unloaded from mammoth ocean-going vessels onto a docking system and then loaded from these docks onto trucks for transportation around the port. The cranes unloading the ships and then loading the trucks at these two ports don't have operators. In fact, they are completely autonomous when working in areas where no humans are present, and they are remotely controlled in areas where humans are. For example, when these cranes are loading an ocean-bound ship with an onboard crew or a truck bound for the open road, regulatory requirements mandate that the crane be governed by a human supervisor with its autonomous mode disabled. The regulatory requirements are in place to protect human life until the safety of such advanced technology can be confirmed beyond a doubt. But these regulations are likely to disappear over time, and so these scenarios will be autonomous in the future as well. These are Europe's first robotics ports, and their presence is resulting in rising labor angst, unrest, and protests from dock workers who are watching with fear as their jobs and livelihoods vanish before their eyes. In the coming years, it is highly likely that self-driving autonomous vehicles will similarly displace trucks and taxi drivers. And although new service sector jobs are available to these displaced dock workers, crane operators, and truck drivers, the new jobs tend to be very low-skilled and low-paid. Embodied AI and robotics will continue to proliferate throughout society and the workplace, and there is no way to stop this phenomenon. It's impossible to stop all other countries from developing advanced AI agents, even if one country unilaterally decides to do so. These agents and robots will become so ubiquitous that we will no longer notice their presence, but their impact will be unprecedented. According to recent projections, 800 million jobs worldwide could be automated by 2030, with 73 million of those jobs being in the US. Driverless vehicles may be the number one cause for the elimination of jobs, as today's Lyft, Uber, and freight drivers unwittingly provide companies with an abundance of data required for machine learning. Currently, 3% of America's workforce drives for a living and collectively earns $300 billion. Millions more workers serve in jobs that support these drivers at rest stops, restaurants, and other services. Thus, the impact of eliminating all of today's commercial drivers will be very substantial to society. Many jobs lost in the retail sector due to the growth of online e-commerce were fortunately replaced by the growth in fulfillment center jobs at distribution points serving the e-commerce industry. But robotics technology employed in warehouse logistics has increased by tenfold, from $1.9 billion in 2016 to an expected $22.4 billion by 2021. Amazon's Alexa and Apple's Siri are increasingly effective as digital assistants and are thus reducing the need for administrative staff, while highly skilled professionals in finance, law, and medicine are also increasingly at risk introduced by specialized AI. Today, AI can read medical diagnostic images 10,000 times faster than human radiologists, and they can do so with greater accuracy. AI radiology agents take just 46 seconds to read, identify, and assess pathology in the same volume of images than a highly trained and experienced radiologist can do in 2 days. Britain's National Health Service is forecasting a shortage of 100,000 doctors and other critical healthcare workers by 2027, and it is very likely that they will turn to medical artificial intelligence agents and robotics for their solutions. The British education authorities are forecasting a shortage of 50,000 teachers by approximately the same period, and their solution is also likely to be AI-based. But technology companies also employ relatively few people. In its prime, Kodak employed 140,000 workers and had a market capitalization of $28 billion. This stands in stark contrast to Instagram, who had just 13 employees when they were sold to Facebook for $1 billion. Similarly, Blockbuster employed 60,000 people at its peak and had revenue of $5.9 billion. Today, Netflix employs just 4,400 people and has half that revenue. at 2.5 billion. Labor economists at major academic centers and think tanks are analyzing the probability of job losses in the economy by employment sector. They project that inventory-related jobs at fulfillment centers have a 98% probability of displacement due to AI, automation, and robotics. Librarians have a 97% probability of displacement, while most unskilled or semi-skilled jobs have an 89% probability of displacement. Overall, these labor economists are projecting that 60% of all jobs are in danger of becoming redundant as a result of AI, automation, and robotics. Eventually, technically skilled work will also be at risk of displacement as AI and robotics increase in sophistication. The effects of AI will be much greater than that of globalization during these past 30 years. In the 1980s, 25 workers were required for each $1 million of factory output, while today only 5 workers are required for the same level of productivity. Recognizing the opportunity for cost-effective manufacturing and productivity gains amongst industrialists has led to an increase in global investment in artificial intelligence from $12 billion in 2017 to a forecasted $60 billion in 2021. But many small firms and organizations will struggle. They are either not taking the issue seriously and thus not paying attention, or simply unable to grasp the magnitude of the impact AI is currently having and is very likely to have in the future. In response to these dramatic and revolutionary changes in work and in the economy, society urgently needs to rethink how we prepare young people for this new and very different reality. Today's challenge posed by the existential crisis of climate change and subsequent ecological collapse is an excellent example and an important warning of the scale of disruption and upheaval we are likely to encounter if we don't soon begin to prepare ourselves at a global level for this fourth industrial revolution. The potential for the collapse of social order is enormous. The introduction of mechanized farming in the agricultural sector during the 20th century led to such reform in Western education. Young people across the country were now required to attend school through the 12th grade to better prepare them for non-agricultural jobs that required an increase in their cognitive skills. As the effects of the Industrial Revolution on workers' lives became clear, they organized into unions to protect their new proletariat class from exploitation by the new capitalists and industrialists. But with AI, automation, and robotics now replacing jobs traditionally performed by humans, there just aren't enough new suitable opportunities for so many displaced workers, and this will very likely lead to widespread social unrest, psychological distress, depression, and violence, as automation further exacerbates income and wealth inequalities across geographies and societies. Universal basic income is an idea often discussed, but it is unlikely to be truly universal, and more likely to be some form of a national basic income scheme for citizens. This will result in a continuation, or perhaps an increase, in economic migrants pouring out of Africa, Asia, and South America as they embark on life-threatening journeys to places offering these basic income schemes. Silicon Valley in Northern California has long served as a reference model for other societies to study and understand how they too might foster such an extraordinarily productive technology development ecosystem in their own countries. But ironically, the Silicon Valley microcosm has also come to represent what the world may look like as these fourth industrial revolution technologies proliferate. As in Silicon Valley today, the changes will bifurcate society into those with the skills to thrive in these new ecosystems and those without such skills. As before, the ultimate winners in Industry 4.0 will be those who own the means of production, the owners of the businesses that own and operate the robots, the disembodied AI, and the staff with the specialized skills necessary to support these ecosystems. As mentioned previously, the coming changes as the fourth industrial revolution takes hold are likely to lead to societal collapse. In a recent poll, 72% of workers said they worried that AI, automation, and robots would take their jobs. But legislative and policy solutions thus far have been lacking, and these failures have led to the rise of far-right parties in many Western liberal democracies. If legislative and policy solutions are not enacted soon, within 5 to 10 years, the situation may deteriorate to an unmanageable degree, and so it is irresponsible and potentially catastrophic for leaders of society to ignore this unfolding reality. Thank you for spending some time with me. I'm trying to follow the TED Talk format, and so I'm keeping these podcasts to about 20 minutes. Let me know what you think. I hope you'll find these insights into artificial intelligence helpful, and I hope you'll read my new book, The Genome Affair. It's on Amazon. Until next time then, this has been the AI and You podcast with author Vicar Saidi.